I never thought my own daughter would treat me like hired help, but there I was, standing in my kitchen at 6 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day, already 3 hours into prep work for 35 guests, when Rachel walked in and said the words that would change everything. "Just remember, Mom, when people ask, you're helping me host. This is my dinner party." She didn't ask. She told me, and that's when I knew something had to give. Let me back up a bit. My name is Dorothy. I'm 63 years old, and I've lived in the same house in Westchester County, New York, for almost 40 years. My late husband Robert and I raised 2 kids here. My son lives in California with his family, and my daughter Rachel, well, she lives just 20 minutes away with her husband Brandon and their 2 teenage boys. For the past 15 years since Robert passed, I've hosted every single Thanksgiving. Just family, maybe 10 to 12 people total. It was manageable. It was meaningful. It was ours. But this year, everything changed. It started in early October when Rachel showed up at my house unannounced. She let herself in with the spare key I'd given her for emergencies. Not unusual. What was unusual was the stack of papers she had in her hand, and the overly cheerful tone in her voice that I'd learned over the years meant she wanted something big. "Mom!" "Perfect timing. I caught you before your book club." She kissed my cheek and spread the papers across my dining room table like a general planning a military campaign. "So, Brandon's firm is doing really well this year, and we want to host Thanksgiving. Like, really host it. His senior partners, some important clients, our friends from the country club, the boys' teachers. Maybe 35 people total." My stomach dropped. 35 people? "That's wonderful, honey," I said carefully. "Where are you planning to have it? Are you renting a space?" She laughed like I'd told the funniest joke. "Mom, don't be silly. Here, of course. This house is perfect for entertaining. That's why you and Dad bought it, remember? And you're such an amazing cook. Everyone always raves about your Thanksgiving." I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. This wasn't the first time Rachel had volunteered me for something without asking. 3 years ago, she'd signed me up to make 70 cupcakes for her son's entire grade. Last Christmas, she'd told her book club I'd host their holiday party. 2 months ago, she'd given my number to her friend who needed someone to watch her 3 dogs for a week. Every single time, I'd said yes. Because that's what mothers do, right? We help our children. We support them. We don't want to seem difficult or unwilling. But 35 people for Thanksgiving? "Rachel, sweetheart, that's a lot of people. And a lot of work. Have you thought about maybe having it catered? Or scaling back the guest list?" Her face fell. "Mom, I can't believe you're being like this. This is important for Brandon's career. These are people who could make or break his partnership track. And honestly, everyone knows your cooking is better than any caterer. When I told Brandon's boss you'd be doing the food, he was so excited." "You already told them I'd do it?" "Well, yes. I mean, I knew you'd want to help." She gathered up her papers. "Look, I've already made a menu. Turkey, of course. And a honey-glazed ham. Brandon insists on both. Then we'll need 3 different potato dishes because some people prefer mashed, some like sweet potato casserole, and his boss's wife only eats roasted fingerlings. Green bean casserole, obviously, but also roasted Brussels sprouts and glazed carrots. And appetizers before dinner. I was thinking cheese boards, stuffed mushrooms, shrimp cocktail, and those little pastry things you make. Oh, and desserts. At least 4 different pies, plus that chocolate trifle you're known for." My head was spinning. "Rachel, that's restaurant-level catering. For 35 people. That would take me days to prepare. That's why I'm giving you 6 weeks' notice." She smiled brightly. "Most people only get a few days. And of course, I'll help where I can." Where she could. I knew what that meant. It meant she'd show up an hour before guests arrived, maybe put out some napkins, and then disappear to get ready. But I nodded. I smiled. I said, "Okay, let me think about it." "Think fast, Mom. I need to confirm with everyone by Friday." And then she was gone, leaving me alone with a menu that would cost me hundreds of dollars and days of my life. That night, I called my best friend Susan. She's been my neighbor for 22 years, and she's seen me get walked over more times than I can count. "Tell her no," Susan said immediately. "Dorothy, you have to tell her no." But it's important for Brandon's career. So important that they can't hire a caterer? Dorothy, honey, you know I love you, but you've been letting Rachel do this to you for years. Remember the cupcakes? Remember when she volunteered you to organize the entire neighborhood yard sale? I did remember. I'd spent 2 weeks coordinating 40 families, all for Rachel to take credit for the event's success at the HOA meeting. What if she gets mad at me? I whispered. What if you get mad at her? Susan countered. That's allowed too, you know. But I didn't tell Rachel no. Instead, I told myself it would be fine. I could do this. I'd done big dinners before, hadn't I? This was just a little bigger, just a little more work. The next 6 weeks were a blur of shopping, prepping, and planning. Rachel sent me updated guest counts weekly. 35 became 38, then 32, then 40. Finally, she settled on 37 confirmed guests. She also sent me increasingly specific instructions. Brandon's boss was allergic to nuts. His partner's wife was gluten-free. 2 guests were vegetarian. 1 was vegan. Another kept kosher and would need completely separate dishes. I made lists. I made spreadsheets. I planned every single dish, every single ingredient. I spent over $600 of my own money on groceries. Rachel had promised to reimburse me, but every time I brought it up, she said, "Of course, Mom. We'll settle up after Thanksgiving." The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Rachel came over to check on progress. I was in the middle of making 4 different pie crusts from scratch. "Oh, Mom," she sighed, surveying my kitchen. "You're doing them by hand? You know you can just buy frozen crusts, right?" I stopped rolling dough. "You told me Brandon's boss's wife specifically requested homemade everything." "Well, yes, but she doesn't have to know." Rachel picked up one of my recipe cards. "Are you really making fresh cranberry sauce?" "Mom, the canned stuff is fine." "You sent me a recipe for homemade cranberry orange relish. You said it was non-negotiable." She waved her hand dismissively. "I mean, if you want to go to all that trouble." "I'm just saying, no one would notice." But I would notice, and more importantly, Rachel would notice, and she'd find a way to make it my fault if something wasn't perfect. The Sunday before Thanksgiving, Rachel called me 3 times with updates. First, to tell me she'd invited 2 more people, then to ask if I could also make breakfast for everyone the Friday after Thanksgiving because some guests were staying overnight and she didn't want to cook. Finally, to inform me that she'd told everyone dinner would be served at 3 o'clock sharp. 3 o'clock? "Rachel, that's really early. That means I'd have to start cooking the turkey at—" "I know it's tight, Mom, but Brandon's boss has another event at 6, so we need to eat early. You can do it, right?" You always figure things out. That night, I barely slept. I kept running through the timeline in my head. I'd have to get up at 3 in the morning to get the turkey in the oven by 4:30. The ham would go in at 7, sweet potatoes at 9, regular potatoes starting at noon, green beans at 1, Brussels sprouts at 2, all while managing appetizers, keeping dishes warm, and somehow staying calm and gracious. Monday and Tuesday were a whirlwind of preparation. I made pie crusts, chopped vegetables, prepared marinades. My kitchen looked like a professional prep kitchen, every surface covered with ingredients organized by dish. Susan stopped by on Tuesday evening and found me close to tears over a batch of ruined pastry puffs. "Dorothy, this is insane," she said, putting her arm around my shoulders. "You're killing yourself for this dinner, and it's not even yours." "I know," I whispered, "but I can't back out now. Everyone's counting on me." "Is Rachel helping at all?" I laughed bitterly. "She stopped by yesterday for 5 minutes to supervise. Told me the appetizer plates I bought weren't nice enough and I should use my wedding china for 37 people. Oh, and she needs me to also set the tables, do the place cards, and arrange all the flowers she's having delivered Wednesday. And what is Rachel doing? Getting her hair done, shopping for a new outfit, making sure the house looks perfect for photos." Susan squeezed my hand. "You know this isn't right." I nodded, but I kept cooking. Wednesday morning, the flowers arrived. 12 massive arrangements that Rachel had ordered without telling me she'd used my credit card. When I called her about the $400 charge, she said, "Oh, I forgot to mention that. You don't mind, right? They're for the dinner you're hosting. I thought this was your dinner." "It is. I'm hosting. You're just doing the food and providing the venue and, making sure everything runs smoothly." That afternoon, Rachel came over with her interior designer friend to rearrange my furniture. They moved my favorite reading chair to the garage, replaced my family photos with generic autumn decorations, and completely transformed my living room into what Rachel called Instagram-worthy. "We're going to get such amazing photos," Rachel gushed. "Brandon's boss's wife is an influencer. She has like 50,000 followers. When she posts about this dinner, everyone will see how well we entertain." We. She kept saying we, but every single thing, from the cooking to the cleaning to the decorating, was being done by me. That evening, as I was marinating the turkey at 9 p.m., Rachel sent me a text. "By the way, for tomorrow, I'll need you to stay in the kitchen during dinner. I don't want any confusion about who's hosting. You understand, right? You can eat after everyone leaves." "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." I read that text 5 times. Stay in the kitchen. Eat after everyone leaves. In my own home. At a dinner I was entirely responsible for creating, while my daughter took all the credit. And I realized something. This wasn't just about Thanksgiving. This was about every single time I'd let Rachel treat me like I didn't matter. Every time I'd swallowed my hurt and told myself I was being a good mother. Every time I'd prioritized her comfort over my own dignity. I looked around my kitchen. At the turkey. The ham. The ingredients for 37 people. The flowers I'd been charged for. The rearranged furniture in my living room. And I made a decision. I picked up my phone and called Susan. "How fast can you get over here?" "5 minutes. Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," I said. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. "But I'm going to need your help with something." Susan arrived, and I explained my plan. Her eyes got wider and wider. "Dorothy, are you sure? Rachel is going to lose her mind." "I know," I said. "But I'm losing myself, and I can't do this anymore." We worked until midnight. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. Just like I'd planned, but instead of cooking, I got dressed. I put on my favorite traveling clothes, packed a bag, and took one last look around my kitchen. Then I took out my phone and composed a text message to Rachel. "Good morning, sweetheart. I've thought a lot about yesterday's text, and I've realized something important. This is my home. If you want to host 37 people for Thanksgiving, you're welcome to do so, but you'll need to figure out the food yourself. I've left a list of local caterers who might be able to help on such short notice, though I doubt it. The turkey is in the refrigerator, uncooked. All the ingredients are there. I have complete faith that since this is your dinner party, you can handle it. I'm going to Pennsylvania to spend Thanksgiving with your brother and his family. They invited me weeks ago, and I declined because I thought I was needed here. Clearly, I was wrong about what kind of help you actually wanted. I'll be back Sunday. We can talk then. Love, Mom." I hit send. Then I turned off my phone, got in my car, and drove to Susan's house. "Ready?" she asked, her own bag packed. "Ready," I said. We'd booked ourselves a beautiful bed and breakfast in the Poconos. It was just the two of us. A Thanksgiving dinner prepared by someone else, and 3 days of hiking, reading, and absolutely no cooking. I didn't turn my phone back on until Friday afternoon. I had 63 text messages and 41 missed calls. The first texts from Rachel, sent at 7 a.m. Thursday. "We're confused. Mom, what are you talking about? Very funny. Where are you?" By 8 a.m., they were panicked. "MOM, this isn't funny. People are coming in 7 hours. Where are you? Call me now." By 9 a.m., they were angry. "I cannot believe you would do this to me." To US, "Do you know how this makes me look? Brandon's boss is on his way. What am I supposed to tell him?" By noon, they were desperate. "Please, Mom, I'm sorry. Just come back. I'll do anything. Everyone's here and we ordered pizza and Chinese food and it's a disaster." Brandon's boss left. "Everyone's talking about what a disaster this is. Please just come home." Then there were texts from Brandon. "Dorothy, I don't know what happened between you and Rachel, but this is really unprofessional. A lot of important people took time out of their holiday for this." And texts from my son in California. "Mom," Rachel called me crying. "What's going on? Are you okay?" and one text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Dorothy. This is Amanda, Brandon's sister. I don't think we've met, but I just wanted to say good for you. Rachel's been talking all year about how she was hosting this big Thanksgiving and how she's such an amazing cook. Watching her meltdown when everyone realized she can't even make box stuffing was honestly the highlight of my year. She's been treating you like a servant, and you didn't deserve it. Hope you're having a great holiday wherever you are." I smiled at that one. Susan and I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We ate turkey, we didn't have to cook, watched movies, hiked through beautiful fall foliage, and I felt lighter than I had in years. When I got home Sunday evening, there was a car in my driveway. Rachel's car. She was sitting on my front porch, and she'd been crying. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she looked smaller somehow. "Mom," she said as soon as she saw me. "Can we talk? Please?" I unlocked my door and let her follow me inside. My furniture was still rearranged. The flowers were dead. There were dishes in the sink, stacks of pizza boxes on the counter, and my beautiful kitchen, which I'd spent weeks preparing, looked like a disaster zone. Rachel started talking before I could say anything. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I knew you were doing the cooking, but I didn't really think about what that meant. How much work it was. How much it cost. How completely I was taking advantage of you. Thanksgiving was a complete disaster. The pizza showed up late. The Chinese food was cold. Brandon's boss left after 20 minutes. His partner actually laughed at me when I tried to say I'd planned a casual Thanksgiving. Everyone knew I'd lied. Everyone knew I'd been taking credit for your work." She wiped her eyes. "Brandon and I had our worst fight ever. He said I've been treating you terribly for years and he's embarrassed by how entitled I've become. His sister told everyone that I'd been pretending to be this amazing hostess when really I was just using my own mother. And she's right. That's exactly what I've been doing." I sat down at my kitchen table, exhausted. Rachel sat across from me. "Mom, I don't know when I became this person. This person who thinks it's okay to volunteer other people without asking, who takes credit for other people's work, who treats her own mother like a caterer instead of a guest of honor. It's not just Thanksgiving," I said quietly. "It's been years, Rachel. The cupcakes, the book club party, the yard sale. Every single time, I said yes, because I didn't want you to think I was being difficult. I didn't want to be the kind of mother who couldn't help her daughter, but you stopped asking and started demanding. And I stopped being your mother and started being your employee." She was crying harder now. "You're right. You're completely right, and I don't know how to fix it." "I do," I said. "You start by respecting my time and my choices. You start by asking instead of telling. You start by being grateful instead of entitled. And you start by understanding that my willingness to help you doesn't mean I don't have my own life, my own needs, my own boundaries." Rachel nodded, her face in her hands. "I'll do better. I promise I'll do better. Can we start over?" I thought about it for a long moment. "We can try, but there are going to be some changes. From now on, if you want my help with something, you ask me and you accept my answer whether it's yes or no. You don't volunteer me for things without my permission. You don't take credit for my work. And you treat me like your mother, not your employee." "I will," she said. "I absolutely will. And Mom, I'm going to pay you back for all the groceries and the flowers, and I'm going to help you clean up this mess I made of your house." She did. We spent the next 3 hours together, cleaning my kitchen, putting my furniture back, throwing away the dead flowers. And we talked, really talked, about boundaries and expectations and how we'd both contributed to this dynamic over the years. Was everything perfect after that? No. Old habits die hard. A few weeks later, Rachel called asking if I could watch her boys for a weekend, but this time she actually asked. And when I said I already had plans, she said, "No problem, Mom. Thanks anyway," and found another solution. Did she ever try to volunteer me for something again? Yes, once. She told her friend I could make the cake for a baby shower, but when she called to tell me about it, I said, "Rachel, did you just volunteer me without asking?" There was a pause. Then she said, "You're right. I'm sorry. Let me call her back and find a bakery instead. Old habits. I'm working on it." And she was. She is. We both are. Looking back, that Thanksgiving was the best gift I ever gave myself. Not the vacation, though that was wonderful, but the gift of finally saying no. The gift of demanding to be treated with respect in my own home. The gift of teaching my daughter that love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Would I recommend disappearing on Thanksgiving Day and leaving your daughter to face 37 guests with no food? Maybe not as a first resort. But sometimes, people don't hear you when you speak quietly. Sometimes, you have to make noise to be heard. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for your children is teach them that you matter too. My name is Dorothy. I'm 63 years old, and I spent years being taken for granted by my own daughter. Until one day, I decided enough was enough. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. Was it necessary? For us, yes. Because now, when Rachel and I spend time together, it's because we both want to be there, not because she needs something and I can't say no. And our next Thanksgiving? We had it catered. Rachel paid for it. And I sat at the head of the table as a guest, not a servant. That's how it should have been all along.